Alright, hit the button. Making a video, whether I like it or not. Might play a little bit of a Fred video. I think I will. Sexed up ignorance. It's talking about mystery. And it's really about just talking about belief and the difference between knowing and believing and blah 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 and all this stuff. And it's all about this basic conversation about we can. Seems logical to say there's a truth to be described, and are we doing that? Are we living a lie? And is living a lie? People complain about the idea of a matrix or a virtual reality or somehow a synthetic world that we might live in. But if you're living a lie, a false notion of creation or purpose or function, isn't that just as bad or worse? If you don't really understand the context of your existence, what power you had to do something, what power you didn't have, how much time you wasted on crap and bullshit because you didn't understand urgency or importance, because your priorities were idiotic or stupid. It's like I've been watching a lot of movies, and some of them have aliens in them, and you're just wondering what these these aliens seem rather. Obviously, we anthropomorphize even aliens into human stupidity, and we presume them to be human and stupid in terms of the silly obsessions and blindnesses that they might possess that would be similar to a human, obsessed with greed or immediacy. So it sort of gets this subjective, this ultimate versus narrow description, and then the problem of this vocabulary, just in terms of how you can describe something is what level of conviction is appropriate, how confident is our the knowing, and they all do have different character. Every trial has unique evidence, and some of it's circumstantial, some of it direct evidence. And so, for every truth you're testing, every statement that's being tested, there's a different set of evidences, some with more or less integrity. But obviously, when you're arguing against, this is always the tricky part. And what is allowed in the reasonable sphere of counter proposals. So obviously, people who invent gods or invent all kinds of nonsense just make up a cartoon and say, "There, that's the competing truth." And in that cartoon universe, this doesn't happen, and that doesn't mean anything, and this doesn't, they just dismiss evidence because they can cartoon it away with a god who deliberately puts fossils in the ground to fool us, for some reason, to keep it all complicated and mysterious. But yeah, obviously, I think mystery is ignorance. That's all it is. Our subjective reactions are completely dissectable. We know what we are in terms of our hungers. The ones that are physically visceral, and the ones that are standardly conditioned. So, the ego mechanisms of what we reward in our culture and civilizations. Clearly that could be a very different world. We could live in a world where we revere people who have demonstrated devotion and skill and honesty and integrity, and instead we revere and idolize and glorify people who are attractive and have physical prowess and mastery, and all the it's just almost laughable how wrong the human race has got that in terms of its values and what it conditions into us in terms of the competition And that's a key concept in all of this, is recognizing that there is a competitive nature, um, trying to, not so much the Smith-Jones kind of thing, like outdoing the Joneses, but just this idea of being approved, being loved, being appreciated. That is a competition. We play it as a competition, as if you can hit certain buttons and make it happen, or at least create the sense, the belief that you've earned it or deserve it, and therefore it should happen, even though you're not guaranteed reward. So anyway, but the basic bottom line is there's, it always goes back to evolution. It goes back to this biological equation, the creation of this whole, vortex of bullshit that runs through our brains in terms of our need to have, to be something, often something more than is reasonable, attainable, within the realm of even reality. The happily ever after syndrome is out there. I fix this problem, somehow all my problems will be resolved, and it just doesn't work that way. New problems will arise. It's just acclimating to the new condition of desire and hunger. And if you lack that, you're out of the game. You won't find any way to play the game. Won't feed you. So you have to be hungry. Because there's too many. There's too obnoxious to play it from a neutral position. You can't play it from a neutral position. You have to be driven. You have to have a passion of some kind, or you won't be able to justify the blisters and the sores, the scarring, the indignities, the brutalities, the nasty bits. And it's just a mechanism. It's just what we're built to be, as machines, consuming, reproducing machines. And we do it through this mechanism of addiction. There's something, give me the thing that will resolve me, that will take me someplace, take me away, complete me, even for just a moment. I'll have it. I'll be what I should be, and then have it taken away again, so I can just go chase it again. Chase it. Just keep chasing the chalice, the whatever, the Holy Grail. Yeah. It's you do get it in your hands now and then. And it just evaporates. And then you're, damn it, I gotta go search for it again. It's like a game that just never ends. You get to you solve the puzzle, and there's another puzzle. It just reveals the next puzzle. There's another puzzle to solve. And that's the context of this. We're just rats, being subjected to the laboratory experiment, and we're doing it not because there's some malicious thing forcing us into it, not because there's a planner who has an I'm going to cure cancer, or I'm going to invent a drug that does this, or I'm going to there's no function to this experiment. And here we are as the rats saying, look, we have a choice to just stop the game, turn the maze off, recognize that you're not going to be able to make it fair or sensible, that it's all built out of breaking things before you can fix them, and with this illusion of that there's accomplishment in that. I mean, there's obviously, that's the cheat that always enters into it, right? People would just see the one half of the sandwich, one half of the, well, whatever. Just think of your own metaphor for something that's a half. They'll recognize the round wheel at the top and not recognize the flat bottom. Just understood, recognizing that seeing the victory in satisfying and fixing, seeing the victory in being functional and useful, and not recognizing that the thing that broke it in the first place was unnecessary, and that the real sensible utility is preventing things getting broken. So I've used metaphors for this, the human in the china shop, and how we just ought to learn not to touch this, don't play with it. As you touch one little bit of it and it all starts shattering, and you'll create cascades of fissures and brokenness and a mess that has to be cleaned up, and then you'll have an excuse then, right? You'll have a justification, because there'll be so much in the world to take care of that there'll be no excuse for stopping now, because there's too much to fix. That's sort of the game that's played, as we create the 7 billion people who have to somehow finish their existence, and they have to gain their gratification, and we can't justify, limiting them and preventing them from actualizing themselves by playing games with their own little captive mice, and see if they can make them, pop out of the box, or play the little tune and run the maze the way they would wish or anticipate. Voyeuring on living by extension, by making this slop and then saying, look, I made the thing that cleaned up the slop. Yes, of course I made the thing that made the slop, but it's all self-justifying. And if it was challenged by a real intelligence, not the fake aliens who have, silly itches they're scratching, who are, caught in their own little maze of delusions and bullshit. Somebody just directly asked the question, why? So exactly what is accomplished. You can't gain satisfaction or gratification any other way. Is that your silly argument? It's you have to torture the animal and rip its flesh out and cook it. There's no other way you can feed your desire. There's no other way you can gain gratification in life unless you impose life, unless you play God. I don't think that's a reasonable statement or claim. I don't think it could survive any kind of rational challenge. Aren't you just scratching itches that don't need to exist? If you're going to be that needy, then you'd almost have to concede that you're too expensive, you're too high maintenance. Yeah. It's a real concept. It's a fact of life. There are things that are too high maintenance. They consume more than they produce. So anyway, let's play a little bit of this smush. See if it says anything to us at all. I would doubt it.
Of undefinable knowledge, that kind of, that's kind of what it feels like, isn't it? These are all kind of propositional attitudes, in the same way that belief or certainty or knowledge or doubt or all these other kinds of propositional attitudes. They belong to the self doing the engaging, not to the object under engagement or the phenomena that you're talking about. I mean, to the extent that you can separate these things, which maybe you can't, I don't know.
I suppose he's implying that we're sort of we're interacting with reality, but reality is what made us. So it is a little difficult to separate who's jerking who, what mechanism is the jerk, the thing that causes you, or the effect you produce. Where do we find the real criminal? And I suppose that the simple answer would be in just recognizing the function. It's a function of the universe that matter consolidates, and it takes shapes that are consistent with patterns, and that the patterns have built into them attraction and repulsion. And these mechanisms are fundamental to the fundament. It's just part of how matter functions, and the fact that once it makes something, once chemistry achieves a level of complexity in the sense of just associations that will be possible, the infinite number of associations possible, that one of those associations may produce a replication, may cause the matter to phenomenologically replicate, to cause to happen the existence of a copy. And if it does this copying in a certain way, that way will create something that can evolve. And evolution, or the idea of selecting for survivability, selecting for survivability, selecting for survivability. That's it. That's the box, the really important box. That the mechanism of evolution, the mechanism of replication in an open system is the idea that it will be selected for its survivability, as long as it is capable of manifesting change, and changes are selected for their survivability. That mechanism will create machines that do things, and they may not be as capable as us because their chemistry may never acquire electrical nervous systems and certain kinds of sense perception and all of that, but the idea of the machine would be the same. The function, the basic mechanism would be the same. And we're just weighted. We're just made more incidental, more substantial, more dangerous, because we have manifested consciousness out of that mechanism. That machine has produced this value creator to mimic value, to create the illusion of it in an interior, so the machine could see value in terms of its survival. It could see the survival. You could read the trees, or you could read the environment, and you could see on the environment. It would be coded by your brain based on its greenness or its redness to your welfare. And that's the awe and the passion and the desire and the hunger is built out of that color placed on the world, placed on the things in the world. And that entire mechanism only exists because it is likely to produce this survival machine.
I mean, but either whether you can separate them or not, I suspect you can't. But there's a way of talking about this object-subject relationship which emphasises the subject, and those are the propositional attitudes, aren't they?
Yes, well, there's no point in emphasizing the subjective object outside of the objective perspective of what it's doing, and there's no point in lying. There's no point in pretending that we're in a better maze than we are. It's more than no point in it. It's obnoxious to the very idea of even talking, even communicating words, even communicating the idea of belief and understanding and knowledge and right and wrong and correct and inaccurate and accurate. I mean, even having these words as words would mean nothing if it's not our objective to have them mean something, to have them be correlated to something accurate and true. Bullshit sucks.
So things like knowing and believing, intending, doubting, all these kind of things. Being gobsmacked in the face of, being awestruck. These all emphasise the kind of subjective aspect.
Yeah, they just demonstrate the character of our bias, the conditioned biases, the visceral, biological biases created in terms of what drives us, the passion and the idea that we are going to be driven by attraction and repulsion, to be pulled and pushed, manipulated by the maze. It's entirely the point of the game, is to push you through it, to pull you through it, to seduce you through it. And the mechanism of your awe and your passion is how the agenda is set. The agenda is not set by knowledge. The agenda is not set by understanding. The agenda is set by, too often, just biology, just visceral, crude, established orientations.
Or they look at the phenomenon from that direction. It's confusing, isn't it? I'm very confused by all this, but I'm trying. So yes, mystery. Is mystery just sexed up ignorance?
Yeah. You could say just playing the game with words, like saying mystery, is it just sexed up ignorance? Isn't that just sexed up rhetoric? Isn't that just sexed up commentary? We can't talk intellectually and sensibly and logically about subjects. We have to have some sort of personality into it. We have to interject some sort of, ooh, is it being too sexed up? Is it too sexy for its intelligence? We have to make somebody feel something instead of provoke thought and order and discipline to the meaning of words, to establish that, yes, let's have words that actually mean something. Okay, let's carefully define them, carefully, so then we can use those words to describe another word and another word, and all those definitions will be reliable then, because all the words will mean something that is certain and sure, instead of something sloppy and messy. Mystery as a word, right, should have only one definition: silly, stupid, ignorance. Yes, something, in that vein, okay? There is no true mystery. Yes, there's only your ignorance. There is no magic. There is no made up, quantum truth, where the truth just jumps from here to over there. Red all of a sudden is blue, and purple is fish, and fish is mud, and mud is tree, and no. You can't do that. Anyway. Yeah, so I'm, just pondering. So I'm in my. It's like I'm hanging out with Yoda. Okay, so I'm hanging out with Yoda, and improving my Jedi philosopher skills, in a sense that, yeah, I mean the clarity, of I'm seeing the simplicity. Okay, this is not the truth of our existence is not complicated. It's incredibly simple. It's made of incredibly simple function. all the way back to the rudimentary, all the way back to the core of the existence of stuff in the first place. It doesn't get more complicated as you go deeper. It gets simpler as you go deeper. It only looks complicated to us because there's so fucking much of it. And it's so fucking old. But that's it. It's an illusion of complexity. An illusion of what's the right word to use? It's so simple, that's all. It has a really simple road map, but when the map has a bazillion roads on it, okay, you can see the idea that, okay, the roads just all interconnect. It's really made out of simple stuff. It's just roads and rivers and land. The map is simple, but there's so much mapped. That's what makes it complicated. And that's what we're in. Is something, something so preposterously made up of so much stuff, the things, the stuff that's separated by some sort of distance. There's so much of it, but it's all really simple. But as it interacts, all the interactions have preposterous permutation possibilities because of the number of interactions. But the nature of what we can see, what we are, you just look in the mirror. No, you don't even have to look in the mirror. Just sit there and look inside your own head and see the agenda mechanism running. See your resentments. See your petty ambitions and ambition, the wrong word. The hunger, the desire, the wish, the want, and see what it's made out of. See how it's just you just want the blue ribbon. You just want the better position. You want the applause. You want the acceptance. You want. It's just this. You want. It's just made out of want. And try to see that the want doesn't have any integrity. There's no source to it. Hunt it down like a memory. Look at it and say, where does it link? Where does it go? Where does that want come from? And you're going to find some little kid inside of you, that's just emotionally reacting. It's just pissed off or sad or feeling under something. You're going to find just bullshit. You're going to find bullshit's the wrong word. I mean, it's the substance of our existence, but it's just not a very credible reason for playing with such dangerous stuff. It's like all this stuff is made out of goddamn dynamite. You don't play with this stuff to satisfy something so juvenile, immature, insectoid-ish. That's what you're going to see. You look inside yourself, you'll see the bug. You'll see the little monster machine. Know your bug. Know your the crude nature of your core. Alright, that's probably enough. Yeah. Just stop bullshitting people. I mean, really, just stop with the bullshit. Just deal with the reality of what we are. We're machines. Biological machines. And we haven't thought, we haven't intellectually discovered an agenda. We are just living a crude one imposed by crude forces. Recognize that and step above that. Yeah, and such.